The conversion of the Anglo-Saxons to Christianity was a monumental shift in the religious, cultural, and political landscape of early medieval England. This transformation, spanning from the late 6th to the 8th centuries, was marked by strategic missionary efforts, the influential roles of key figures like Augustine, Queen Bertha, and King Ethelbert, and the establishment of monastic centers. These changes not only brought new religious beliefs, but also introduced new concepts of kingship, law, and cultural expression. The process faced significant challenges, including resistance from pagan elements and the external threat of Viking invasions. Before the spread of Christianity, the Anglo-Saxons practiced a polytheistic religion with a pantheon that included deities such as Woden, the god of wisdom, war, and death; Thor, the god of thunder and storms; Tiwa, associated with law and heroic glory; and Freya, the goddess of fertility, love, and beauty. These gods were integral to the Anglo-Saxon worldview, influencing various aspects of life from warfare to agriculture. The worship of these deities involved rituals and sacrifices conducted at sacred sites like groves, springs, and standing stones, which were believed to be inhabited by spirits. The religious practices of the Anglo-Saxons were closely tied to the natural and social order. The changing seasons, marked by festivals such as Yule and Midsummer, were celebrated with rituals aimed at ensuring fertility, prosperity, and protection. Religious leaders, including priests and seers, played crucial roles in conducting these rituals, offering sacrifices and interpreting omens. They acted as intermediaries between the gods and the people, guiding the community in both spiritual and practical matters. The conversion of the Anglo-Saxons to Christianity was a transformative process that reshaped the religious, cultural, and political landscape of early medieval England. This transformation was marked by the strategic missionary efforts of figures like Augustine, the influential roles of Queen Bertha and King Ethelbert, and the establishment of monastic centers that served as hubs of learning and spirituality. The integration of Christianity into the social and political fabric of Anglo-Saxon society brought new concepts of kingship, law, and governance, and fostered a cultural renaissance that left a lasting legacy. Despite challenges, including resistance from pagan elements and the external threat posed by Viking invasions, Christianity became deeply embedded in Anglo-Saxon culture. The resilience of the Church, the adaptability of its leaders, and the support of the monarchy were crucial in ensuring the success of the Christianization process. This period laid the foundations for the medieval English Church and had enduring impacts on the development of English identity and culture. The conversion of the Anglo-Saxons to Christianity was a monumental shift in the religious, cultural, and political landscape of early medieval England. This transformation, spanning from the late 6th to the 8th centuries, was marked by strategic missionary efforts, the influential roles of key figures like Augustine, Queen Bertha, and King Ethelbert, and the establishment of monastic centers. These changes not only brought new religious beliefs, but also introduced new concepts of kingship, law, and cultural expression. The process faced significant challenges, including resistance from pagan elements and the external threat of Viking invasions. This essay explores the complexities and impact of the Christianization of the Anglo-Saxons, highlighting the enduring legacy of this pivotal period in English history. Part 1. The Pre-Christian Anglo-Saxon World. Religious Beliefs and Practices. Before the spread of Christianity, the Anglo-Saxons practiced a polytheistic religion with a pantheon that included deities such as Woden, the god of wisdom, war, and death; Thor, the god of thunder and storms; Tiw, associated with law and heroic glory; and Freya, the goddess of fertility, love, and beauty. These gods were integral to the Anglo-Saxon worldview, influencing various aspects of life from warfare to agriculture. The worship of these deities involved rituals and sacrifices conducted at sacred sites like groves, springs, and standing stones, which were believed to be inhabited by spirits. The religious practices of the Anglo-Saxons were closely tied to the natural and social order. The changing seasons, marked by festivals such as Yule and Midsummer, were celebrated with rituals aimed at ensuring fertility, prosperity, and protection. Religious leaders, including priests and seers, played crucial roles in conducting these rituals, offering sacrifices and interpreting omens. They acted as intermediaries between the gods and the people, guiding the community in both spiritual and practical matters. Archaeological finds, such as the Sutton Hoo burial site, provide valuable insights into the religious and cultural practices of the pre-Christian Anglo-Saxons. The Sutton Hoo site, with its richly adorned ship burial, reflects a blend of pagan and early Christian elements. The burial included items such as weapons, armor, and ceremonial objects, indicating a belief in an afterlife where the deceased would continue their warrior lifestyle. The presence of Christian symbols alongside pagan artifacts suggests a transitional period where elements of both belief systems coexisted. Social and political structures. Anglo-Saxon society was structured hierarchically, with the king at the top, followed by noble warriors, thanes, free peasants, ceorls, and slaves. The king's role was both political and religious, often perceived as a figure endowed with divine favor, which legitimized his rule. This belief in divine kingship was crucial in maintaining social cohesion and legitimizing the authority of the ruling elite. Kinship played a central role in Anglo-Saxon social organization. Extended families, or kin groups, were the primary units of social structure, providing support and protection for their members. This kinship system was reflected in the laws and customs of the time, which emphasized loyalty, honor, and retribution. The concept of wergild, or man price, was a key aspect of Anglo-Saxon law, representing the value of a person in monetary terms. This system provided a means of compensation for injury or death, helping to prevent cycles of revenge and maintain social order. The warrior ethos was deeply ingrained in Anglo-Saxon culture. Bravery, loyalty, and honor were highly valued, and the King's Hall was a central place where these values were celebrated and reinforced. The hall served as a place for feasting, storytelling, and the administration of justice. It was also a symbol of the king's wealth and power, showcasing the treasures and gifts that were distributed to loyal followers. Interactions with Christian neighbors. Even before the formal missionary efforts, the Anglo-Saxons had contact with Christian communities, particularly through interactions with the Britons and the Irish. The Britons, who had been Christianized during the Roman period, maintained a Christian presence, especially in the western regions of Britain. Additionally, Irish missionaries, known for their distinctive monastic tradition, played a significant role in spreading Christian teachings across the British Isles. These interactions facilitated a cultural and religious exchange that laid the groundwork for later conversion efforts. Artifacts such as the St. Ninian's Isle treasure, which features Christian symbols alongside traditional Anglo-Saxon motifs, indicate an early blending of traditions. This treasure, discovered on an island in Shetland, includes silver and gold items decorated with Christian iconography, suggesting that some level of Christian influence was already present among the Anglo-Saxons. The presence of Christian symbols in a predominantly pagan context suggests a gradual process of religious change, where elements of Christianity were incorporated into existing belief systems. This syncretism likely made the transition to Christianity smoother, as it allowed the Anglo-Saxons to adopt new beliefs without completely abandoning their traditional practices. Part 2. The Early Missionary Efforts. Augustine's mission, 597 AD. Pope Gregory the Great's decision to send Augustine to England in 597 AD was a significant step in the Christianization of the Anglo-Saxons. Gregory's motivation for this mission was both spiritual and political. According to tradition, Gregory was inspired by a chance encounter with Anglo-Saxon youths in a Roman slave market, which led him to remark, "Non angli, sed angeli," not angels, but angels, reflecting his desire to convert these people to Christianity. Augustine and his fellow monks landed in Kent, a strategically important kingdom ruled by King Ethelbert. Ethelbert's marriage to Queen Bertha, a Christian Frankish princess, provided a favorable context for Augustine's mission. Bertha's influence was crucial, as she had already established a Christian presence at the court, with her chaplain, Bishop Liudhard, conducting services in St. Martin's Church in Canterbury. Upon Augustine's arrival, he was received cordially by King Ethelbert, who was curious about the new faith but cautious about abandoning his traditional beliefs. Augustine's approach was gradual and respectful, which was essential in gaining the king's trust. Ethelbert's eventual conversion, influenced by Augustine's teachings and Bertha's persuasion, was a landmark event. As a powerful king, Ethelbert's acceptance of Christianity set a precedent for other rulers and nobles to follow. Augustine established a monastery in Canterbury, which became the center of the English Church. He was consecrated as the first Archbishop of Canterbury, a position that would grow in influence as the Christian community expanded. Augustine's mission faced numerous challenges, including linguistic barriers and resistance from pagan elements, but his success in converting Ethelbert and many of his subjects marked the beginning of a broader Christianization process in England. The role of King Ethelbert and Queen Bertha. Queen Bertha played a pivotal role in the conversion of the Anglo-Saxons. Her Christian background and marriage to Ethelbert created a bridge between the Frankish Christian world and the pagan Anglo-Saxons. Bertha's presence at the Kentish court provided Augustine with a powerful ally and a supportive environment for his mission. Her chaplain, Bishop Liudhard, had already established a small Christian community, which served as a foundation for Augustine's efforts. King Ethelbert's conversion had far-reaching implications for the spread of Christianity in England. As one of the most powerful Anglo-Saxon kings, Ethelbert's conversion lent legitimacy to the new faith and encouraged other rulers and nobles to follow suit. His support was further demonstrated by the issuance of a law code that incorporated Christian principles. This code, known as Ethelbert's Law, is one of the earliest known Anglo-Saxon legal texts and reflects the growing influence of the Church in secular matters. Ethelbert's Law provided protections for church property and clergy and established fines for offenses against Christian institutions. This legal recognition of the Church's authority was a significant step in the institutionalization of Christianity in Anglo-Saxon England. The code also illustrates the early integration of Christian ethics into the legal and social framework of the kingdom, highlighting the transformative impact of the new religion. Spread to other kingdoms. The conversion of other Anglo-Saxon kingdoms often followed a similar pattern, with royal conversions leading to wider acceptance among the populace. In Northumbria, the marriage of King Edwin to Ethelbert, a Christian princess from Kent, played a crucial role in his eventual conversion. The missionary Paulinus accompanied Ethelbert to Northumbria and became a key figure in the region's Christianization. King Edwin's conversion was marked by a dramatic public declaration of faith, followed by a mass baptism of his court and subjects. This event was influenced by political considerations, as alignment with the Christian Kentish kingdom offered strategic advantages. Edwin's conversion was also facilitated by a series of visions and miracles, which convinced him of the truth of the Christian faith. The spread of Christianity in Northumbria was further consolidated by the efforts of Irish missionaries, such as Aidan, who established the monastery of Lindisfarne. Lindisfarne became a center of Christian learning and missionary activity, playing a crucial role in the further spread of Christianity in northern England. The monastery produced important religious texts and trained a new generation of Christian leaders. The Synod of Whitby in 664 AD was a significant event in the history of the English Church. The Synod was convened to resolve differences between Roman and Celtic Christian practices, particularly concerning the calculation of Easter. The decision to adopt the Roman method was pivotal in unifying the English Church and aligning it more closely with the broader European Christian community. This decision helped to standardize Christian practices across the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms and facilitated greater cohesion within the Church. Part 3. The role of monasticism. Foundation of monasteries. Monasteries were central to the Christianization of Anglo-Saxon England, serving as hubs of religious, cultural, and intellectual life. The establishment of monasteries like Lindisfarne, Jarrow, and Wearmouth played a crucial role in the spread and consolidation of Christianity. These institutions were not only centers of worship but also places of learning, where monks and nuns copied manuscripts, produced religious texts, and educated new converts. The foundation of monasteries often involved significant support from local rulers, who provided land and resources. This support was part of a broader pattern of patronage, where the church and the monarchy formed a mutually reinforcing relationship. Monasteries also played a key role in the economy, engaging in agricultural production and trade, which further integrated them into the social fabric of Anglo-Saxon society. The establishment of monastic communities was instrumental in the preservation and transmission of knowledge. Monks and nuns engaged in the copying and illumination of manuscripts, preserving not only religious texts but also works of classical antiquity. This scholarly activity helped to maintain a continuity of learning and intellectual life during a period often characterized by political instability and cultural change. The role of monks and nuns. Monks and nuns were instrumental in the dissemination of Christian teachings and practices. They were often at the forefront of missionary work, traveling to pagan territories to preach and establish new Christian communities. Figures like Street Cuthbert became renowned for their piety, miracles, and pastoral care, which helped to win converts and consolidate Christian communities. Monastic communities also contributed to the cultural life of Anglo-Saxon England. The production of illuminated manuscripts, such as the Lindisfarne Gospels, showcases the blending of Christian themes with local artistic traditions. These works not only served a liturgical purpose, but also played a role in educating the populace about Christian teachings and values. The influence of monasteries extended beyond religious life. They were centers of scholarship, preserving and transmitting knowledge from classical antiquity as well as contemporary Christian thought. The Venerable Bede, one of the most notable scholars of this period, wrote extensively on history, theology, and science, providing invaluable insights into the world of early medieval England. The Synod of Whitby. The Synod of Whitby, held in 664 AD, was a crucial turning point in the history of the English Church. The Synod was convened to resolve differences between the Roman and Celtic Christian traditions, particularly concerning the calculation of Easter and the tonsure, the style of haircut worn by monks. The Synod was attended by prominent church leaders, including Bishop Wilfrid, who argued in favor of the Roman practices, and Abbess Hilda of Whitby, who hosted the event. The decision to adopt the Roman practices was influenced by King Oswiu of Northumbria, who saw alignment with Rome as politically advantageous. The outcome of the Synod not only resolved doctrinal disputes, but also helped to unify the English Church under Roman authority. This unification facilitated greater cohesion and cooperation among the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms and strengthened the connection between the English Church and the broader European Christian community. Part 4. The integration of Christianity into Anglo-Saxon society. Christianity and the Anglo-Saxon kingship. The introduction of Christianity brought new concepts of kingship and governance to Anglo-Saxon England. The idea of divine kingship, where the king was seen as God's appointed ruler on earth, became a central aspect of political authority. This concept was reinforced through the anointing of kings, a ritual that imbued their rule with sacred legitimacy and aligned them with biblical figures like King David and King Solomon. The Church's endorsement became an essential aspect of royal authority, providing spiritual justification for the king's rule. This endorsement was reflected in various aspects of governance, including the issuance of laws that incorporated Christian principles and the establishment of ecclesiastical courts. The Church also played a role in mediating disputes, advising rulers, and providing moral guidance, thereby integrating into the broader framework of governance. Development of church structures. The organization of the English Church mirrored the hierarchical structure of the Roman Church. The establishment of dioceses and the appointment of bishops were critical in creating a coherent ecclesiastical framework. Major sees, such as Canterbury and York, became centers of ecclesiastical authority, with their bishops playing significant roles in both religious and secular affairs. Bishops were often key advisors to kings, involved in diplomatic missions, and sometimes even in military matters. The Church's involvement in secular governance extended to the local level, where parish priests played a role in community leadership, education, and the administration of justice. This integration of church and state helped to standardize religious practices and reinforce the authority of both institutions. The growth of the English Church also involved the establishment of synods and councils, where church leaders discussed and resolved theological and administrative issues. These gatherings were instrumental in maintaining doctrinal unity and addressing challenges such as heresy, clerical misconduct, and disputes over ecclesiastical jurisdiction. Cultural and artistic contributions. The adoption of Christianity had a profound impact on Anglo-Saxon culture and art. Christian themes became prominent in various artistic forms, including sculpture, metalwork, and manuscript illumination. The influence of Christianity is evident in the proliferation of crosses, church buildings, and religious artifacts, many of which incorporated local artistic traditions. One of the most significant cultural contributions of the Christian Church was the production of illuminated manuscripts. These manuscripts, often created in monastic scriptoria, were richly decorated with Christian iconography and served both liturgical and educational purposes. The Lindisfarne Gospels, with its intricate designs and Latin text, is a prime example of the synthesis of Christian and Anglo-Saxon artistic traditions. Christianity also influenced Anglo-Saxon literature, with religious poetry and prose becoming prominent genres. Works like The Dream of the Rood, which blends Christian theology with heroic Anglo-Saxon themes, reflect the fusion of the new faith with existing cultural elements. The Church's role as a patron of the arts helped to foster a cultural renaissance that preserved and transmitted knowledge, both religious and secular. Part 5. Challenges and conflicts. Resistance and reversion to paganism. The process of Christianization was not without resistance. Some Anglo-Saxon rulers and communities were reluctant to abandon their traditional beliefs and practices. This resistance was often rooted in cultural identity, political considerations, and a deep attachment to the old ways. Notable examples include Pinda of Mercia, who remained a staunch pagan and often clashed with Christian rulers. Reversion to paganism was a recurring issue, particularly in regions where the Church's influence was weaker. The persistence of pagan practices, such as the veneration of sacred trees and stones, the use of amulets, and the celebration of traditional festivals, indicated a syncretic blending of old and new beliefs. The Church's response included both persuasion and coercion, using sermons, laws, and occasionally force to suppress pagan practices. The Church also faced internal challenges, such as disputes over the proper conduct of clergy, the administration of sacraments, and the regulation of monastic life. These challenges required ongoing efforts to maintain discipline, doctrinal purity, and the integrity of ecclesiastical institutions. Viking invasions and Christian resilience. The Viking invasions of the 8th and 9th centuries posed a severe threat to the Christianized Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. The Norse invaders, who adhered to their own pagan beliefs, targeted monasteries and churches, which were often wealthy and poorly defended. The destruction of monastic centers like Lindisfarne and Jarrow disrupted the ecclesiastical infrastructure and posed a challenge to the continuity of Christian life and learning. Despite these challenges, the Anglo-Saxon Church demonstrated remarkable resilience. Figures like King Alfred the Great played crucial roles in defending Christian territory and revitalizing the Church. Alfred's reforms included the establishment of fortified towns, baths, the promotion of education, and the translation of religious texts into Old English. These efforts helped to preserve Christian teachings and ensure the Church's survival during a period of external threats. The Church also adapted to the new political realities, often negotiating with Viking leaders and converting them to Christianity. The conversion of figures like Guthrum, a Viking leader who was baptized and took the Christian name Athelstan, illustrated the Church's flexibility and ability to integrate new converts into the Christian community. Conclusion. The conversion of the Anglo-Saxons to Christianity was a transformative process that reshaped the religious, cultural, and political landscape of early medieval England. This transformation was marked by the strategic missionary efforts of figures like Augustine, the influential roles of Queen Bertha and King Ethelbert, and the establishment of monastic centers that served as hubs of learning and spirituality. The integration of Christianity into the social and political fabric of Anglo-Saxon society brought new concepts of kingship, law, and governance, and fostered a cultural renaissance that left a lasting legacy. Despite challenges, including resistance from pagan elements and the external threat posed by Viking invasions, Christianity became deeply embedded in Anglo-Saxon culture. The resilience of the Church, the adaptability of its leaders, and the support of the monarchy were crucial in ensuring the success of the Christianization process. This period laid the foundations for the medieval English Church and had enduring impacts on the development of English identity and culture. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and comment. And please subscribe for more adventures back in time to the Middle Ages. See you next time and stay curious.
Welcome to Medieval Chronicles 1066. Do you know who Ethelwald was? What effect did he have on monasticism in 10th century England? Ethelwald of Winchester was a central figure in the ecclesiastical reform movement of 10th century England. As both the Abbot of Abingdon and the Bishop of Winchester, he played a key role in revitalizing monastic life and restructuring the English Church during a period marked by political instability and cultural transformation. This essay explores Ethelwald's life, his contributions to monastic reform, and his enduring impact on the English Church. Early life and background. Born between 904 and 909 in Winchester, Ethelwald was the son of noble parents during the reign of Edward the Elder. Winchester, a centre of learning and ecclesiastical activity, provided a conducive environment for his intellectual and spiritual growth. Ethelwald's early education likely included training in Latin and religious studies, setting the stage for his future roles in the Church. His noble background and education positioned him for a significant ecclesiastical career, a common trajectory for nobility in that era. The context of 10th century England. The landscape of 10th century England was fraught with challenges. The Viking invasions had destabilized the country, leading to a decline in monastic institutions. The Benedictine rule, which emphasized communal life, prayer, and study, had been largely abandoned, with many monasteries becoming secularized. The Church faced fragmentation and a loss of spiritual rigor, often becoming entangled in political affairs. In this context, there was a pressing need for reform. Monastic life needed revitalization, and the Church required restructuring to restore its spiritual and moral authority. Ethelwald, along with contemporaries like Dunstan and Oswald, emerged as leading advocates for these reforms, seeking to restore the Benedictine ideals and revive the Church's spiritual life. Ethelwald's monastic reforms. Ethelwald's commitment to monastic reform became evident during his tenure as Abbot of Abingdon, a position he assumed around 954. Upon his arrival, Abingdon Abbey was in decline. Edelwald implemented comprehensive reforms aimed at restoring the abbey to the ideals of the Benedictine rule. His reforms focused on re-establishing discipline, improving the abbey's financial health, and revitalizing its spiritual life. One of Edelwald's first actions was to reintroduce the rule of Saint Benedict, which emphasized a strict schedule of communal prayer, work, and study. He stressed the importance of liturgical purity and the regular observance of the divine office. To support these religious practices, Edelwald ensured the monks were trained in Gregorian chant, fostering an environment of orderly and beautiful worship. Edelwald also prioritized learning and manuscript production, recognizing monasteries as centers of education and cultural preservation. He encouraged the copying of manuscripts, including religious texts and classical works, contributing significantly to the preservation of knowledge during a time when literacy was limited. Under Edelwald's leadership, Abingdon Abbey became a model of monastic reform, demonstrating the potential for similar reforms across England. His reputation as a reformer grew, attracting the attention of church leaders and the monarchy, further amplifying his influence. As Bishop of Winchester. In 963, Edelwald was appointed Bishop of Winchester, one of England's most influential ecclesiastical positions. This role allowed him to expand his reform efforts. As bishop, Edelwald continued to advocate for Benedictine reforms, overseeing the reformation of numerous monasteries within his diocese and beyond. His influence also extended to the royal court, where he served as an advisor to King Edgar, promoting church reforms and supporting the crown's political objectives. One of Edelwald's most significant achievements as bishop was transforming the Winchester Cathedral community into a center of Benedictine monasticism. Prior to his tenure, the cathedral was staffed by secular canons who did not adhere to the monastic rule. Edelwald replaced these canons with monks who followed the Benedictine rule, ensuring that the cathedral functioned according to strict monastic standards. This transformation included introducing new liturgical practices, such as the regular observance of the divine office, and standardizing the liturgical calendar. Edelwald also promoted manuscript production, commissioning texts that were both religious and educational. This focus on learning helped establish Winchester as a center of intellectual activity, attracting scholars and students from across England. Beyond Winchester, Edelwald played a crucial role in reforming other monastic institutions, including Ely and Peterborough. He also influenced the establishment of new monasteries like Thorney and Crowland, founded on Benedictine principles. These institutions became beacons of the monastic revival, embodying the ideals Edelwald championed. The impact of Edelwald's reforms. Edelwald's reforms profoundly impacted the English Church and society. His efforts to restore the Benedictine rule revitalized monastic life, leading to a renaissance in religious, cultural, and intellectual activities. The monasteries he reformed or founded became centers of learning, where manuscripts were copied and knowledge was preserved and disseminated. This period saw a flowering of scholarship, particularly in theology, law, and the arts. The standardization of liturgical practices, which Edelwald advocated, helped unify the English Church. By promoting a uniform liturgical calendar and regular observance of the divine office, Edelwald ensured consistency in religious services across the country. This consistency fostered a sense of unity and cohesion within the Church, strengthening its position as a central institution in English society. Edelwald's emphasis on doctrinal purity and clergy education also contributed to a more learned and disciplined priesthood. By ensuring clergy were well educated and adhered to strict moral and ethical standards, Edelwald elevated the Church's spiritual and moral authority. This, in turn, enhanced the Church's ability to influence broader society, both spiritually and politically. In the political realm, Edelwald's close relationship with the royal court allowed him to shape policies and decisions with far-reaching effects. He was a key advisor to King Edgar, playing a crucial role in promoting a unified English kingdom under a strong central authority. This vision of unity was reflected in the period's political and ecclesiastical reforms, aiming to consolidate power and establish a cohesive national identity. Edelwald's legacy. Ethelwold's legacy is evident in the lasting impact of his reforms on the English Church and society. The monasteries he reformed or founded continued to be centers of spiritual and intellectual life for centuries. His emphasis on learning and manuscript production helped preserve a vast corpus of religious and classical texts, crucial in developing medieval English culture. The liturgical and doctrinal reforms Ethelwold promoted also had a lasting impact. The standardization of religious practices helped create a more unified and cohesive church, playing a central role in the governance and culture of medieval England. This unity was instrumental in the Church's ability to maintain its authority and influence during periods of political and social change. Ethelwold's influence extended beyond his lifetime, as his reforms continued to shape the English Church long after his death in 984. His disciples, such as Aelfhelm of Canterbury and Ethelwold of Abingdon, carried on his work, ensuring the Benedictine reform principles remained central to English monasticism. The monasteries he reformed or founded became centers of learning and piety, contributing to the nation's cultural and intellectual life. Moreover, Ethelwold's vision of a unified English Church under a strong central authority resonated with later church and political leaders. His ideas about the Church's role in society, the importance of doctrinal purity, and the need for a well-educated clergy continued to influence the English Church's development in the following centuries. Thanks for listening. Like and comment. And please subscribe, as that will help us get more videos out to those interested in the Middle Ages. See you next time on Medieval Chronicles 1066. Stay curious.
The Reign of Constantine, Transforming Rome for Eternity. Introduction. The reign of Constantine the Great, AD 306 to 337, stands as one of the most pivotal periods in the history of the Roman Empire. Emerging from a time of profound crisis and transformation within the Roman world, Constantine's rule marked the beginning of a new era, not only for Rome but also for the world at large. His leadership was characterized by sweeping changes in religious, political, and cultural life, which left an indelible mark on the trajectory of Western civilization. The establishment of Christianity as a legally recognized and eventually dominant religion, the founding of Constantinople, and the various reforms in governance and military structure all contribute to Constantine's reputation as a transformative figure in history. Constantine's rise to power was set against the backdrop of a Roman Empire struggling to maintain its vast territories and diverse populations. The late 3rd century had seen the empire divided into multiple administrative units under the tetrarchy system established by Emperor Diocletian. This division was intended to address the empire's growing difficulties in defense, administration, and governance, yet it also led to intense power struggles among the ruling elites. Constantine, through a combination of military prowess, political acumen, and perhaps a degree of destiny as some contemporaries believed, emerged victorious in this turbulent period, ultimately unifying the empire under his rule. One of Constantine's most significant and lasting contributions was his approach to religion. Prior to Constantine, Christians had faced varying degrees of persecution, particularly under emperors who viewed the Christian refusal to participate in state cults as a threat to Roman unity. Constantine's Edict of Milan in 313 AD not only legalized Christianity, but also set the stage for it to become the empire's dominant religion. His convening of the First Council of Nicaea in 325 AD further solidified his role in shaping Christian doctrine and practice, a role that would have profound implications for the future of Christianity and the world. In addition to his religious policies, Constantine implemented a range of political, military, and economic reforms that would reshape the Roman Empire. His decision to establish a new capital in Byzantium, renamed Constantinople, was a strategic move that reflected the shifting centers of power within the empire. Constantinople would not only serve as a political and military hub, but also as a cultural and religious center that would endure for centuries as the heart of the Byzantine Empire. Constantine's legacy is a complex and multifaceted one. He is revered as a saint in the Eastern Orthodox Church, yet his reign also involved acts of ruthlessness and autocracy that have been criticized by historians. Nevertheless, there is no denying the transformative impact of his rule. Constantine's reign marked the beginning of the transition from the ancient Roman world to the medieval Christian world, setting the stage for the development of Europe and the Western tradition. This essay will explore the various dimensions of Constantine's reign, examining how his actions and policies reshaped Rome for eternity. Part 1. Early life and rise to power. Constantine was born in AD 272 in Nisus, a city in the province of Moesia, modern-day Niš, Serbia. He was the son of Flavius Valerius Constantius, a military officer who would later become Caesar, and Helena, a woman of humble origins who would be venerated as a saint. Constantine's early life was marked by the complexities of the Roman imperial system, particularly the division of power initiated by Emperor Diocletian in 293 AD. Diocletian's tetrarchy divided the Roman Empire into 4 parts, each ruled by a senior emperor, Augustus, and a junior emperor, Caesar. Constantius, Constantine's father, was appointed Caesar in the West, with the responsibility of governing the provinces of Gaul, Britannia, and Hispania. Constantine's upbringing within this politically charged environment undoubtedly shaped his understanding of power and governance. He spent much of his youth at the imperial court, where he was exposed to the military and political affairs of the empire. His education was comprehensive, encompassing military training, rhetoric, and the study of Greek and Latin literature, all of which prepared him for future leadership roles. However, his position was precarious. As the son of a Caesar, he was a potential heir to the throne but also a potential target in the dangerous world of Roman politics. In AD 305, Diocletian and his co-Augustus Maximian abdicated, a move that triggered a series of events leading to Constantine's rise to power. Constantius was elevated to the position of Augustus in the west, while Galerius became Augustus in the east. Constantine, who had been held as a virtual hostage at Galerius's court, fled to join his father in the west. Following Constantius's death in 306 AD, Constantine was proclaimed Augustus by his troops in Eboracum, modern-day York, England, marking the beginning of his bid for power. The following years were marked by a series of civil wars as Constantine sought to consolidate his authority. His primary rivals included Maxentius, who had declared himself emperor in Rome, and Licinius, who controlled the eastern provinces. The Battle of Milvian Bridge in 312 AD was a decisive moment in Constantine's rise. According to Christian tradition, on the eve of the battle, Constantine had a vision of the Christian cross and the words, "In this sign, you will conquer." He ordered his soldiers to adorn their shields with the Christian symbol, and despite being outnumbered, Constantine's forces achieved a stunning victory. This event not only solidified Constantine's control over the Western Roman Empire, but also marked a significant turning point in his relationship with Christianity. By 324 AD, Constantine had defeated all his rivals and became the sole ruler of the Roman Empire. His victory over Licinius at the Battle of Chrysopolis marked the end of the Tetrarchy and the beginning of Constantine's autocratic rule. His consolidation of power set the stage for the sweeping reforms and religious policies that would define his reign and leave a lasting legacy on the Roman Empire and beyond. Part 2. Constantine's religious policies and the rise of Christianity. Constantine's reign is perhaps most famously associated with the rise of Christianity within the Roman Empire. His religious policies not only transformed the spiritual landscape of Rome, but also had profound implications for the future of Western civilization. The Edict of Milan, issued in 313 AD by Constantine and Licinius, was a landmark moment in the history of Christianity. This decree granted religious tolerance throughout the empire and specifically legalized Christianity, which had previously been subject to intermittent persecution. The motivations behind Constantine's support for Christianity have been the subject of much debate among historians. Some argue that Constantine's conversion was a genuine act of faith, while others suggest it was a calculated political move designed to unify the empire under a single, cohesive religion. Regardless of his personal beliefs, it is clear that Constantine recognized the potential of Christianity as a unifying force within the empire. Constantine's involvement in Christian affairs extended beyond mere tolerance. He played an active role in the promotion of Christian orthodoxy and the suppression of heretical movements. The most notable example of this was the First Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, which Constantine convened to address the Arian controversy, a theological dispute concerning the nature of Christ. The council, attended by bishops from across the empire, resulted in the Nicene Creed, a statement of faith that affirmed the divinity of Christ and became a foundational text for Christian orthodoxy. The Council of Nicaea was significant not only for its theological decisions, but also for the precedent it set for imperial involvement in church affairs. Constantine's role in the council demonstrated his commitment to establishing a unified Christian doctrine and his willingness to use his imperial authority to achieve this goal. This involvement laid the groundwork for the close relationship between the Church and the state that would characterize the Byzantine Empire and, later, the medieval Christian world. In addition to his theological interventions, Constantine also patronized the Christian Church through the construction of numerous churches and basilicas, many of which were built on sites of Christian significance. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, built on the site believed to be the location of Christ's crucifixion and resurrection, is one of the most famous examples of Constantine's architectural legacy. These constructions not only served as places of worship, but also as symbols of the growing power and influence of Christianity within the Roman Empire. Constantine's religious policies had far-reaching consequences for the Roman Empire and the broader Christian world. By legalizing and promoting Christianity, Constantine set the stage for its eventual dominance as the state religion of the empire. This shift had profound implications for the cultural and political landscape of Europe, as Christianity became a central element of the identity of the Roman Empire and its successors. The Christianization of the empire also contributed to the development of a distinct Christian culture, characterized by its own art, architecture, and literature, which would shape the course of Western civilization for centuries to come. Part 3. Political and military reforms. While Constantine's religious policies are often the most discussed aspect of his reign, his political and military reforms were equally transformative. These reforms not only strengthened the Roman Empire during his lifetime, but also had long-lasting effects on its structure and administration. One of Constantine's most significant political reforms was the restructuring of the Roman government. Under Diocletian's Tetrarchy, the empire had been divided into multiple administrative units, each governed by an Augustus or Caesar. While this system helped manage the empire's vast territories, it also led to internal power struggles. After defeating his rivals, Constantine abolished the Tetrarchy and established a more centralized form of government. He retained the division of the empire into dioceses and provinces, but placed them under the direct control of imperial officials who reported directly to him. This centralization of power helped stabilize the empire and reduce the likelihood of internal conflicts. Constantine also reformed the Roman legal system, issuing new laws and edicts that reflected his vision of a Christianized empire. These laws covered a wide range of issues, including the protection of Christians, the regulation of religious practices, and the administration of justice. One of the most notable legal reforms was the codification of Roman law, which aimed to standardize legal practices across the empire. This codification laid the foundation for the development of the Byzantine legal system, which would influence European legal traditions for centuries. In the military sphere, Constantine implemented several key reforms that strengthened the Roman army and improved its effectiveness. He reorganized the army into two main groups: the comitatenses, or field armies, which were mobile units that could be deployed quickly to respond to threats, and the limitanei, or border troops, who were stationed along the empire's frontiers. This reorganization allowed the Roman army to be more flexible and responsive to external threats, particularly from the Germanic tribes and the Sassanid Empire. Constantine also increased the size of the army and improved its infrastructure, including the construction of new fortifications and the development of a more efficient supply system. These reforms helped to secure the empire's borders and maintain its military strength in the face of external challenges. One of Constantine's most enduring legacies was the founding of Constantinople, which he established as the new capital of the Roman Empire in 330 AD. Located on the site of the ancient city of Byzantium, Constantinople was strategically positioned at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, making it an ideal location for trade and defense. The city was designed to be a reflection of Constantine's vision of a Christian empire, with grand churches, palaces, and public buildings that rivaled those of Rome itself. Constantinople quickly became the political, cultural, and religious center of the empire, and its establishment marked a shift in the balance of power from the western provinces to the eastern provinces. This shift would have profound implications for the future of the Roman Empire, as the eastern half of the empire, centered on Constantinople, would endure for nearly 1,000 years after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Constantine's political and military reforms not only strengthened the Roman Empire during his reign, but also laid the groundwork for the Byzantine Empire, which would carry on the legacy of Rome in the eastern Mediterranean for centuries. His vision of a centralized, Christianized empire would shape the development of European civilization and influence the course of history long after his death. Part 4. Economic and Social Changes. Constantine's reign also saw significant changes in the economic and social structures of the Roman Empire. These changes were driven by both the need to stabilize the empire and Constantine's desire to align the empire's institutions with his vision of a Christianized society. One of the most important economic reforms of Constantine's reign was the introduction of the solidus, a new gold coin that became the standard currency of the Roman Empire. The solidus was introduced in 312 AD, and its stability and reliability helped to restore confidence in the Roman economy, which had been plagued by inflation and currency devaluation in the preceding decades. The solidus remained in use for over 7 centuries, becoming a cornerstone of the Byzantine economy and influencing the monetary systems of medieval Europe. Constantine also implemented reforms aimed at improving the empire's tax system. These reforms included the regularization of tax assessments and the establishment of a more efficient system for collecting taxes. By ensuring a more stable and predictable flow of revenue, these reforms helped to strengthen the empire's finances and support its military and administrative needs. In addition to his economic reforms, Constantine's reign also brought about significant social changes. One of the most notable of these was the increasing role of the Christian Church in Roman society. As Christianity became more established and accepted, the Church began to play a larger role in social and charitable activities, such as providing for the poor, caring for the sick, and offering education. This shift reflected Constantine's belief that the Church should be a partner in his efforts to create a more just and moral society. Constantine's policies also had an impact on the social hierarchy of the Roman Empire. The Christianization of the empire led to the rise of a new elite, composed of bishops, clergy, and other Christian leaders who held significant influence in both religious and secular affairs. This new Christian elite often worked in partnership with the traditional Roman aristocracy, but tensions sometimes arose between the two groups, particularly over issues of wealth, power, and influence. Another significant social change during Constantine's reign was the increasing regulation of family life and social behavior. Constantine issued laws aimed at strengthening the institution of marriage, protecting women and children, and promoting moral behavior. For example, he passed laws that made it more difficult to divorce, imposed penalties on adultery, and provided legal protections for widows and orphans. These laws reflected Constantine's desire to create a society that aligned with Christian values and ethics. Constantine's reign also saw changes in the status of slavery within the Roman Empire. While slavery remained a fundamental part of the Roman economy and society, Constantine introduced laws that improved the legal status of slaves and provided them with certain protections. For example, he prohibited the branding of slaves on the face, allowed slaves to seek refuge in churches to escape mistreatment, and made it easier for slaves to gain their freedom. These changes, while limited, reflected the influence of Christian teachings on the treatment of slaves and contributed to a gradual shift in attitudes toward slavery in the Roman world. Overall, the economic and social changes that took place during Constantine's reign were closely linked to his broader efforts to stabilize the empire and align its institutions with Christian values. These changes had a lasting impact on the Roman Empire and its successors, shaping the development of European society and laying the groundwork for the transition from the ancient world to the medieval Christian world. Part 5. Constantine's Legacy. The legacy of Constantine the Great is vast and multifaceted, encompassing his contributions to religion, politics, culture, and society. His reign marked a turning point in Roman history, setting in motion a series of changes that would shape the future of Europe and the Western world. One of Constantine's most enduring legacies is his role in the establishment of Christianity as the dominant religion of the Roman Empire. By legalizing and promoting Christianity, Constantine laid the foundation for the Christianization of Europe and the development of Western Christendom. His support for the Church, his involvement in the formulation of Christian doctrine, and his patronage of Christian architecture all contributed to the growth and spread of Christianity. The impact of his religious policies can still be seen today in the Christian traditions, institutions, and values that continue to influence Western culture. Constantine's political and military reforms also had a lasting impact on the Roman Empire and its successors. His centralization of power, reorganization of the military, and establishment of Constantinople as the new capital helped to stabilize the empire and extend its longevity. The Byzantine Empire, which emerged from the eastern half of the Roman Empire, carried on many of Constantine's reforms and played a crucial role in preserving and transmitting the cultural and intellectual heritage of the ancient world to the medieval West. The city of Constantinople itself stands as a testament to Constantine's vision and legacy. For over 1,000 years, Constantinople served as the political, cultural, and religious center of the Byzantine Empire, and its influence extended far beyond the empire's borders. The city's strategic location, magnificent architecture, and vibrant culture made it one of the most important cities in the world, and its legacy continues to be felt in the modern city of Istanbul. In addition to his contributions to religion and politics, Constantine's reign also left a lasting mark on Roman law and governance. His legal reforms, including the codification of Roman law, influenced the development of the Byzantine legal system and the legal traditions of medieval Europe. Constantine's emphasis on justice, morality, and the protection of the vulnerable helped to shape the ethical foundations of Western legal systems. Constantine's legacy is not without its controversies, however. His reign was marked by acts of ruthlessness, including the execution of his own son Crispus and his second wife Fausta, both of whom were accused of plotting against him. These actions, along with his autocratic style of rule, have led some historians to view Constantine as a complex and contradictory figure. While he is revered as a saint in the Eastern Orthodox Church, his reputation in the West has been more ambivalent, with some scholars emphasizing his role as a pragmatic and ambitious ruler who used religion to achieve his political goals. Despite these controversies, there is no denying the transformative impact of Constantine's reign. His policies and reforms reshaped the Roman Empire, influenced the development of Western civilization, and left a legacy that continues to be felt in the modern world. Whether viewed as a visionary leader, a ruthless autocrat, or a saintly ruler, Constantine remains one of the most significant figures in the history of Rome and the Western world. Conclusion. The reign of Constantine the Great was a period of profound transformation for the Roman Empire and the world at large. Through his religious, political, military, economic, and social reforms, Constantine reshaped the empire in ways that would have lasting effects for centuries to come. His support for Christianity, in particular, marked a turning point in the history of religion, setting the stage for the Christianization of Europe and the development of Western Christendom. Constantine's legacy is complex and multifaceted, reflecting the diverse and often contradictory aspects of his rule. He was a ruler who sought to centralize power and stabilize the empire, but he was also a patron of the Christian Church and a promoter of justice and morality. His actions were driven by both pragmatic and idealistic motives, and his impact on history has been interpreted in various ways by different generations of historians and scholars. Ultimately, the significance of Constantine's reign lies not only in the specific policies and reforms he implemented, but also in the broader cultural and historical context in which he ruled. Constantine's ability to navigate the challenges of his time, to adapt to changing circumstances, and to leave a lasting legacy that continues to inspire and influence the world is a testament to his skill as a leader and his vision as a ruler. As we continue to study and reflect on the reign of Constantine, we gain valuable insights into the processes of historical change, the dynamics of power and authority, and the ways in which cultural symbols are created and transformed over time. The story of Constantine and the transformation of Rome is a reminder of the enduring impact that a single ruler can have on the course of history, and it challenges us to consider the ways in which our own actions and decisions may shape the future for generations to come. Thanks for listening. Like and comment. And please subscribe, as that will help us get more videos out to those interested in the Middle Ages. See you next time on Medieval Chronicles 1066. Stay curious.
Strategies, the role of religion in medieval warfare. In the heart of the medieval period, warfare was more than a contest of arms, armor, and tactics. It was a clash of ideologies, values, and most profoundly, beliefs. Religion was not merely an accessory to medieval society, it was the very core of existence, guiding both rulers and warriors in their decisions on and off the battlefield. Let's explore how faith shaped strategies, inspired armies, and justified conflicts during this tumultuous period. Through divine authority, religious rituals, and holy symbols, medieval warfare became as much a spiritual endeavor as a physical one. The divine justification for war, crusades, and the concept of holy war. One of the most striking examples of religion guiding warfare strategies is the Crusades. Launched in the late 11th century, the Crusades were military expeditions sanctioned by the Pope to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim rule. While territorial ambitions and economic incentives played a role, religious fervor was the main rallying cry. Crusaders saw themselves as soldiers of Christ, fighting to defend Christianity and secure the sacred sites of Jerusalem. The notion of a just war, derived from Christian doctrine, offered a moral framework that shaped medieval conflicts. According to St. Augustine's earlier writings on just war, wars could be justified if they were fought in defense of faith, against perceived evil, or to reclaim territories wrongfully taken. In the case of the Crusades, the papal endorsement gave the military campaigns a sense of divine legitimacy. Soldiers marched to battle believing they were absolved of their sins, with eternal salvation promised as their ultimate reward. This powerful fusion of religious belief and military purpose made the Crusades a defining example of how religion could shape the direction, motivation, and strategy of medieval warfare. Papal influence and the moral compass of warfare. The influence of religion on medieval warfare extended beyond specific conflicts like the Crusades. Religious leaders wielded significant power in shaping the moral compass of their societies, often advising kings and commanders on when and how to go to war. The papacy itself became a central authority in determining whether wars were deemed morally acceptable. In many cases, popes issued formal calls to arms, urging monarchs to defend Christendom or intervene in heretical uprisings. One prominent example is Pope Urban II's call to arms at the Council of Clermont in 1095, where he urged Christian warriors to take up the cross and fight the Muslim forces in the Holy Land. His speech not only inspired thousands of nobles, knights, and peasants to join the First Crusade but also marked the beginning of a series of papal-backed military campaigns that would dominate much of medieval European politics for centuries. The papal authority gave rulers and knights a higher moral cause to fight for, one that transcended the earthly ambitions of land, wealth, or political power. In other instances, religious figures served as intermediaries in conflict, negotiating truces or even preventing battles from occurring. The Church's moral authority could also serve to limit the violence during wartime, as seen in the Peace of God and Truce of God movements. These initiatives aim to restrict fighting to certain times or protect civilians and non-combatants during periods of war. Through these examples, we see how the Church was deeply involved in the ethical framework surrounding warfare, shaping not only who fought but how they fought. Faith as a psychological weapon, religious symbols and warfare. Religion not only provided moral justification for war, but also served as a powerful tool of psychological warfare. Sacred symbols, relics, and emblems became essential elements of medieval military strategy, inspiring troops while intimidating their enemies. In a period where belief in divine intervention was widespread, the sight of a religious symbol could lift the spirits of soldiers or strike fear into the hearts of their foes. The most prominent example of such a symbol was the Christian cross. Crusaders often emblazoned their shields and tunics with the cross, signifying that they were not merely soldiers but instruments of God's will. This visual representation of faith reinforced their belief that they fought with divine backing. The sight of an army advancing under the banner of the cross could demoralize opponents, as it suggested that God was on the side of the Christian warriors. Similarly, Muslim forces in the Crusades rallied under the crescent, a symbol of Islam and a reminder of their own divine support. These symbols were not only used on the battlefield but were central to the rituals before and after combat. Blessings of weapons, prayers for victory, and the veneration of saints and relics were common practices in medieval armies. For example, the French King Charles VII carried the banner of Joan of Arc into battle, believing it had divine protection that would bring victory against the English. Such practices show how religion intertwined with warfare, giving spiritual meaning to the tools and acts of violence. Religious propaganda and the use of relics. Relics played an extraordinary role in both the psychological and strategic aspects of medieval warfare. It was believed that these holy objects carried divine power, offering protection and favor in battles. Kings and commanders would often carry relics of saints into battle as a means of securing divine aid. For example, King Louis IX of France, during the Seventh Crusade, carried relics of the True Cross and other Christian saints as he led his armies into combat. These relics were considered so sacred that their loss could demoralize an entire army, while their presence was believed to ensure victory. In addition to relics, religious figures were often involved in the ceremonies surrounding war. Priests would bless the soldiers, weapons, and flags before battle, and special masses were held to pray for victory. The association of religious rites with warfare offered a spiritual dimension to the battles, convincing soldiers that they fought not only for their earthly lords but for God Himself. Religious factions and internal conflict, civil wars and power struggles. While religion often unified medieval warriors against external enemies, it also played a central role in internal conflicts. Civil wars and dynastic struggles frequently took on a religious dimension, with rival factions using faith to justify their causes. The investiture controversy of the 11th and 12th centuries, for instance, was a power struggle between the Holy Roman Emperors and the papacy over the appointment of bishops. This conflict had a profound impact on the political and military landscape of medieval Europe, with armies rallying behind religiously motivated leaders who claimed divine right or authority over the Church. Similarly, the wars of religion in the later medieval period, particularly in France, pitted Catholics against Protestants in violent struggles over religious doctrine and control of the state. These internal conflicts demonstrate how religion could both unify and divide, shaping the military strategies and alliances of the time. The legacy of religion in medieval warfare. The role of religion in medieval warfare was pervasive and far-reaching. From the mass mobilization of the Crusades to the civil wars driven by religious factionalism, faith shaped not only the justifications for war but also the strategies and outcomes. Religious leaders influenced the decisions of kings, religious symbols inspired and demoralized armies, and religious conflicts changed the course of history. The legacy of this divine influence on warfare continued into later centuries, with religious wars marking much of early modern European history. The concept of just war and the intertwining of faith with politics and military strategy persisted long after the medieval era, shaping the nature of warfare for centuries to come. In conclusion, medieval warfare was not only about physical conquest and defense, it was a spiritual struggle, fought under the watchful eyes of divine forces. As we reflect on this period, it becomes clear that the strategies of kings and commanders were inseparable from the religious convictions that permeated their world. Religion was the heartbeat of medieval life, and on the battlefield, it was a force as potent as any sword or shield. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the profound role of religion in shaping medieval warfare. Don't forget to subscribe to Medieval Chronicles 1066 for more captivating insights into history. Until next time, may your curiosity guide you to new discoveries. The 1095 Council of Clermont, catalyst of the First Crusade. The Council of Clermont, convened in November 1095 by Pope Urban II, stands as a pivotal event in medieval history. This gathering marked the initiation of the First Crusade, a military and religious campaign aimed at reclaiming the Holy Land from Muslim control. The Council's resolutions and Urban II's impassioned appeal not only set the stage for centuries of crusading fervor, but also reflected the complex interplay of religious, political, and social factors shaping medieval Europe. Let's explore the background, proceedings, and consequences of the Council of Clermont, demonstrating its profound impact on medieval Christendom. Background: contextualizing the Council. The Council of Clermont occurred during a period of significant upheaval and transformation in medieval Europe. By the late 11th century, Christendom faced both internal and external challenges. Internally, the investiture controversy between the papacy and secular rulers over the appointment of bishops had strained the Church's authority. The Gregorian reform movement, spearheaded by the papacy, aimed to centralize church power and enforce clerical discipline, yet this effort often clashed with the ambitions of secular rulers. Pope Urban II, elected in 1088, sought to reinforce the Church's supremacy while addressing the growing instability in Christendom. Externally, the Byzantine Empire, a bastion of Eastern Christianity, was reeling under the pressure of Turkish expansion following the pivotal Battle of Manzikert in 1071. This defeat had not only cost the Byzantines significant territory but also exposed their vulnerabilities to further incursions by the Seljuk Turks. Byzantine Emperor Alexios I Komnenos's appeal for military assistance to Pope Urban II underscored the dire situation and provided the papacy with an opportunity to mend relations between the eastern and western branches of Christianity, which had been fractured since the Great Schism of 1054. Additionally, the notion of pilgrimage to sacred sites, particularly Jerusalem, held immense spiritual significance in medieval Christian theology. The rise of Seljuk Turks had disrupted pilgrim access to the Holy Land, fueling resentment and a sense of urgency among Christians in Europe. Pilgrimage, long viewed as an act of penance and devotion, became a rallying point for Urban II, who presented the crusade as an extension of this sacred tradition. Against this backdrop, Pope Urban II saw an opportunity to unify Christendom under the banner of a holy cause while addressing the Byzantine plea for aid. Proceedings of the Council. The Council of Clermont convened in southern France, attracting clergy, nobility, and laypersons from across Christendom. It was one of many councils called by Urban II during his tenure, but its significance transcended its local context. While the council addressed a range of ecclesiastical issues, including clerical discipline and the investiture controversy, its most significant moment came on November 27, 1095, when Pope Urban II delivered his momentous sermon. Although no verbatim transcript of his speech exists, multiple accounts provide insight into its themes and rhetoric. Chroniclers such as Fulcher of Chartres, Robert the Monk, and Baldric of Dole recorded versions of Urban's address, each emphasizing different aspects of his appeal. Urban framed the crusade as a sacred duty, emphasizing the need to defend fellow Christians in the East and liberate the Holy Land. He employed vivid imagery of suffering and desecration, painting the Muslims as a dire threat to Christendom. Urban's call resonated deeply with medieval audiences, as he promised spiritual rewards, including the remission of sins, for those who took up the cross. This theological incentive, coupled with the promise of adventure and potential material gain, proved a potent combination. Urban's speech also addressed broader societal tensions. By directing the martial energies of Europe's knights toward a common external enemy, the Pope sought to reduce internal conflicts that had plagued feudal societies. In doing so, he aligned religious objectives with pragmatic solutions to social instability. The crusade thus emerged not only as a religious endeavor but also as a means of channeling the violence and ambition of feudal lords and knights into a collective mission. Key themes in Urban II's appeal. Urban II's sermon at Clermont encapsulated several themes that would characterize the Crusades. 1. Religious zeal. Urban depicted the crusade as a divinely sanctioned mission, appealing to the deeply ingrained piety of medieval Christians. He invoked the imagery of Jerusalem as the spiritual heart of Christendom, emphasizing its desecration under Muslim control. 2. Christian unity. By emphasizing the shared Christian identity and the need to protect fellow believers, Urban sought to bridge the divide between Eastern and Western Christianity. This theme resonated with many, despite lingering tensions from the Great Schism. 3. Remission of sins. The promise of spiritual salvation became a central motivator, intertwining religious devotion with personal redemption. Urban's offer of a plenary indulgence for crusaders marked a significant theological development, enhancing the appeal of the crusade. 4. Chivalric ideals. Urban framed the crusade as an opportunity for knights to demonstrate their valor in service of God, aligning religious duty with the ethos of knighthood. Immediate reactions and preparations. Urban's call to arms met with an enthusiastic response. Reports of the council suggest that the audience erupted in cries of Deus vult. God wills it, a phrase that would become the rallying cry of the Crusades. Across Europe, the message spread rapidly through itinerant preachers and church networks, galvanizing support among all strata of society. The crusading movement that emerged was remarkably inclusive. While the knightly class formed the backbone of the military effort, large numbers of peasants, artisans, and clergy also joined. This mass mobilization, later referred to as the People's Crusade, underscored the depth of popular commitment to the cause, though it also highlighted the challenges of organizing such a diverse and often unruly force. Figures such as Peter the Hermit and Walter Sans of War played key roles in rallying the common people, inspiring thousands to undertake the arduous journey to the Holy Land. However, the lack of coordination and resources among these early crusaders led to significant hardships, including famine, disease, and violent encounters along the way. Consequences of the Council of Clermont. The Council of Clermont and the subsequent launch of the First Crusade had far-reaching implications, reshaping the political, religious, and cultural landscape of medieval Europe and the broader Mediterranean world. 1. Religious impact. The Crusade reinforced the papacy's spiritual authority by positioning the Pope as the ultimate arbiter of Christian action. Urban II's leadership in mobilizing Christendom for a collective endeavor showcased the Church's capacity to unify diverse regions and peoples under a common purpose. Theologically, the Crusade cemented the concept of holy war in medieval Christianity, intertwining religious devotion with military action. This fusion would persist throughout the crusading era, influencing subsequent campaigns and shaping Christian-Muslim relations for centuries. 2. Political consequences. The Crusade marked a turning point in the relationship between Western Europe and the Byzantine Empire. While the initial aim was to assist the Byzantines, the eventual establishment of Latin states in the Levant, such as the Kingdom of Jerusalem, created tensions and rivalries that strained East-West relations. Domestically, the departure of numerous nobles and knights for the Holy Land led to shifts in power dynamics within European polities. Some rulers capitalized on the absence of crusading lords to consolidate their authority, while others grappled with the logistical and financial demands of supporting the expedition. 3. Social and cultural transformations. The First Crusade fostered a sense of pan-European identity, as participants from diverse regions came together under a shared religious banner. This nascent sense of unity, however, coexisted with growing antagonism toward non-Christians, particularly Jews and Muslims. The crusading spirit often fueled violent outbursts, such as the massacres of Jewish communities during the People's Crusade. Culturally, the Crusades facilitated exchanges between East and West, exposing Europeans to new ideas, technologies, and goods. These interactions, though fraught with conflict, contributed to the gradual transformation of medieval European society. 4. Long-term legacy. The success of the First Crusade in capturing Jerusalem in 1099 was hailed as a miraculous victory, solidifying the legacy of the Council of Clermont as the starting point of an epochal movement. However, the establishment of Crusader states also laid the groundwork for future conflicts, as the fragile footholds in the Levant faced constant pressure from Muslim forces. Critiques and controversies. While the Council of Clermont and the First Crusade are often viewed as triumphs of Christian unity and piety, they also invite critical scrutiny. The rhetoric employed by Urban II has been criticized for its polarizing and inflammatory nature, which exacerbated Christian-Muslim antagonism. Furthermore, the violent excesses of the crusading movement, including the slaughter of civilians, raise ethical questions about the means employed to achieve religious goals. Conclusion. The 1095 Council of Clermont was a transformative moment in medieval history, initiating a movement that would shape the course of European and Middle Eastern history for centuries. Pope Urban II's call to arms galvanized Christendom, channeling religious devotion, political ambition, and social energies into a campaign that transcended borders and social classes. While the Crusades brought both triumphs and tragedies, their origins at Clermont underscore the enduring power of faith and the complex motivations that drive historical change. Thanks for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe to Medieval Chronicles 1066 for more journeys back to the Middle Ages. Stay curious.
Do you know why the Third Crusade, 1189 to 1192, stands as one of the most significant military campaigns of the medieval period? Do you know who its notable leaders were and what its strategic battles were? Why did the Third Crusade have a profound impact on both the Christian and Muslim worlds? Let us delve into the origins, events, and outcomes of the Third Crusade, analyzing the perspectives of various historical sources and schools of thought to provide a comprehensive understanding of this pivotal conflict. Historical context and origins. The fall of Jerusalem. The catalyst for the Third Crusade was the fall of Jerusalem to Saladin in 1187. The city, which held immense religious significance for Christians, Jews, and Muslims, had been under Christian control since the First Crusade, 1096 to 1099. Saladin, the Sultan of Egypt and Syria, unified the Muslim forces and recaptured Jerusalem after the decisive Battle of Hattin. This event sent shockwaves through Christendom, prompting Pope Gregory VIII to issue the papal bull Audita Tremendi, calling for a new crusade to reclaim the Holy Land. Jerusalem's significance cannot be overstated. For Christians, it was the site of Christ's crucifixion and resurrection, while for Muslims, it was home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock, the latter marking the spot from which Prophet Muhammad is believed to have ascended to heaven during the night journey. The fall of such a pivotal city not only had spiritual repercussions but also geopolitical ones, as it threatened the existence of the Crusader states established during the First Crusade. Motivations for the Crusade. The motivations behind the Third Crusade were multifaceted. Religious fervor and the desire to reclaim Jerusalem were primary driving forces. However, political and economic factors also played significant roles. European monarchs saw the Crusade as an opportunity to assert their dominance, gain prestige, and expand their territories. Additionally, the Crusade provided a means to channel the military energies of restless knights and nobles into a common cause. Religious zeal was fueled by the promise of indulgences, a concept propagated by the Church where those who took up the cross were granted remission of their sins. This spiritual incentive was compelling for many, offering eternal salvation in exchange for military service. Economically, the Crusade opened new avenues for trade and wealth acquisition. Italian city-states like Venice and Genoa, which provided naval support, saw the Crusade as an opportunity to expand their trade networks. The promise of spoils of war, land grants, and other material benefits also attracted many to the cause. The role of the papacy. The papacy played a critical role in the organization and promotion of the Third Crusade. Pope Gregory VIII's call for the Crusade emphasized the spiritual rewards for participants, including the remission of sins. This religious motivation was a powerful incentive for many crusaders. The papacy also facilitated the coordination and funding of the crusade, leveraging its influence across Europe to garner support from various monarchs and nobility. Papal bulls, sermons, and church decrees were instrumental in rallying support. The Church's involvement underscored the perceived divine mandate of the crusade, framing it as a holy war sanctioned by God. The papacy's ability to unite disparate European powers under a common religious cause was a testament to its influence during the medieval period. Political and social climate in Europe. The late 12th century was a period of political fragmentation and feudal conflict in Europe. The call for the Third Crusade provided a unifying cause that transcended local disputes and rivalries. Monarchs like Richard I of England and Philip II of France saw the Crusade as an opportunity to project their power and influence on an international stage. Feudal lords and knights were motivated by both piety and the promise of adventure and wealth. The social structure of feudal Europe, with its emphasis on martial prowess and loyalty to one's lord, aligned well with the crusading ethos. The crusade offered a means for younger sons of nobility who had little prospect of inheriting land to gain wealth and status. The social and economic fabric of medieval Europe was deeply intertwined with the crusading movement. Towns and cities benefited from the increased demand for supplies and services, while the nobility leveraged the crusade to consolidate their power and influence. The promise of indulgences also appealed to the broader populace, who saw participation in the crusade as a way to secure their salvation. Thanks for listening to Medieval Chronicles 1066. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out our Apple and Spotify podcast for more medieval history adventures. Stay curious. What do you know about the Knights Templar? How did they rise and how did they fall? The Knights Templar, also known as the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, are one of the most famous and enigmatic military orders of the medieval period. Founded in the early 12th century, the Templars rose to great prominence and power before their dramatic downfall in the early 14th century. This essay delves into the history of the Knights Templar, examining their rise, significant contributions, and the factors that led to their downfall. Origins and early history. The foundation of the order. The Knights Templar were founded in 1119 by a group of French knights led by Hugues de Payens. The order was established in Jerusalem after the First Crusade, with the primary purpose of protecting Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land. King Baldwin II of Jerusalem granted the Templars headquarters on the Temple Mount, hence their name. Initially, the order comprised only 9 knights, who took vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, following a monastic rule. Papal recognition and early expansion. The Templars gained significant support from influential figures, including King Baldwin II and Warmund, Patriarch of Jerusalem. In 1129, the Council of Troyes officially recognized the order, granting it a papal endorsement. This recognition was crucial for the Templars, providing them with legitimacy and enabling them to receive donations and recruits. The endorsement of the Church, particularly by influential figures such as Bernard of Clairvaux, further boosted the Templars' reputation. Bernard's treatise, In Praise of the New Knighthood, extolled the virtues of the Templars, combining the ideals of knighthood with monastic piety. This blend of martial and religious commitment attracted many nobles and knights to join the order. The rule of the Templars. The Templars adopted a rule based on the Cistercian monastic rule, emphasizing austerity, discipline, and communal living. The order was structured hierarchically, with a Grand Master at its head, followed by commanders, knights, and sergeants. The knights were required to lead a life of prayer, celibacy, and martial service, dedicating themselves to the protection of pilgrims and the defense of the Holy Land. The rise to power. Military achievements. The Templars' military prowess was a key factor in their rise to power. They played a significant role in several key battles during the Crusades, including the Battle of Montgessard, 1177, where their cavalry charge helped secure a decisive victory against Saladin's forces. Their disciplined and fearless approach to combat earned them a formidable reputation among both allies and enemies. The Templars' military capabilities were not limited to the Holy Land. They also established a presence in various European territories, including Spain and Portugal, where they participated in the Reconquista, the Christian campaign to reclaim the Iberian Peninsula from Muslim rule. Their contributions to these campaigns further enhanced their prestige and influence. Economic power and wealth. One of the most significant aspects of the Templars' rise to power was their economic acumen. The order accumulated vast wealth through donations from European nobility and royalties, eager to support the Crusades and secure spiritual benefits. The Templars also developed an extensive network of properties, including farms, mills, and vineyards, which generated substantial income. In addition to their land holdings, the Templars became adept at financial management, pioneering early banking practices. They offered services such as safe deposit, letters of credit, and loans to pilgrims and nobles, facilitating the movement of funds across Europe and the Holy Land. This financial expertise made the Templars indispensable to the medieval economy, further solidifying their influence. Political influence. The Templars' military and economic power translated into significant political influence. They established close ties with monarchs, nobles, and church leaders, often serving as advisors and diplomats. Their international network allowed them to act as intermediaries in political and financial matters, enhancing their standing in European courts. The Templars' political influence extended to the papacy, which granted them numerous privileges and exemptions. These included the right to build their own churches, immunity from local ecclesiastical authorities, and direct subordination to the Pope. Such privileges underscored the Templars' unique status as both a military and religious order. Life within the order. Daily life and duties. Life within the Templar order was strictly regulated by the rule and hierarchical structure. The knights adhered to a rigorous schedule that included daily prayers, communal meals, and training exercises. They were required to wear the distinctive white mantle adorned with a red cross, symbolizing their purity and dedication to the Christian cause. The Templars were divided into several ranks, including knights, sergeants, and chaplains. Each rank had specific duties and responsibilities. Knights were the primary combatants, while sergeants provided support services such as blacksmithing and logistics. Chaplains attended to the spiritual needs of the order, conducting religious services and administering the sacraments. Training and military discipline. The Templars placed a strong emphasis on military training and discipline. Knights underwent rigorous physical and combat training to prepare for the demands of warfare. They were trained in various forms of combat, including swordsmanship, archery, and horseback riding. This training ensured that the Templars maintained their reputation as elite warriors. Discipline within the order was strictly enforced. Violations of the rule, such as breaches of celibacy or acts of cowardice, were met with severe punishments, including expulsion from the order. The Templars' commitment to discipline and training contributed to their effectiveness on the battlefield and their cohesive organizational structure. Spiritual practices. As a religious order, the Templars devoted a significant portion of their daily life to spiritual practices. The day began with the recitation of the Divine Office, a series of prayers that marked the canonical hours. This was followed by Mass and additional periods of prayer and meditation throughout the day. The Templars also engaged in acts of charity and almsgiving, reflecting their commitment to Christian virtues. They provided assistance to the poor and sick, often establishing hospitals and hospices near their properties. These acts of charity reinforced the Templars' image as both warriors and servants of Christ. Contributions to medieval society. Architectural achievements. The Knights Templar were renowned for their contributions to medieval architecture. The order built numerous castles, fortresses, and churches, many of which were strategically located to defend key territories and trade routes. Templar architecture was characterized by its functional design, incorporating features such as thick walls, towers, and moats to enhance defensibility. One of the most famous examples of Templar architecture is the Temple Church in London. Built in the mid-12th century, the church features a distinctive circular nave, inspired by the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. The Temple Church served as the headquarters of the Templars in England and remains a testament to their architectural legacy. Economic and financial innovations. The Templars were pioneers in medieval finance, developing sophisticated banking and financial systems. Their extensive network of preceptories and properties enabled them to facilitate the transfer of funds across long distances, providing a secure and reliable means of financial transactions. The Templars' banking activities included issuing letters of credit, accepting deposits, and granting loans. One of the Templars' notable financial innovations was the introduction of letters of credit, an early form of banking that allowed pilgrims and merchants to deposit money in one location and withdraw it in another. This system reduced the risk of carrying large sums of money and facilitated international trade and travel. Social and charitable contributions. The Templars were also known for their social and charitable contributions. They established hospitals, hospices, and almshouses to provide care for the sick, poor, and needy. The order's commitment to charity was reflected in their rule, which emphasized the importance of aiding those in need and practicing acts of mercy. Templar hospitals were among the best equipped and most advanced medical facilities of their time. They offered a range of services, including medical treatment, shelter, and food for pilgrims and the destitute. The Templars' charitable activities reinforced their reputation as pious and benevolent servants of Christ. The Templar Rule and Way of Life. The Templar Rule. The Templar Rule, established by Bernard of Clairvaux, provided the framework for the order's way of life. The rule combined elements of monastic discipline with the martial duties of knights, creating a unique hybrid of monk and warrior. The Templar Rule emphasized virtues such as obedience, humility, chastity, and poverty. Templars were required to live communally, following a strict schedule of prayer, work, and training. They were forbidden from engaging in personal accumulation of wealth or property, dedicating their lives to the service of God and the order. The rule also outlined the hierarchy and organizational structure of the order, ensuring discipline and cohesion. Daily life and rituals. The daily life of a Templar was governed by a regimented schedule that balanced spiritual and martial duties. The day began with the recitation of the divine office, followed by Mass and individual prayer. Knights then engaged in various activities, including military training, maintenance of equipment, and communal tasks such as cooking and cleaning. Mealtimes were communal and characterized by simplicity. Templars were expected to eat modestly and avoid luxury. Meals were accompanied by readings from religious texts, reinforcing the spiritual focus of the order. Silence was observed during meals, allowing for contemplation and reflection. The hierarchical structure. The Templars' hierarchical structure was designed to ensure effective command and control. At the top of the hierarchy was the Grand Master, who held ultimate authority over the order. The Grand Master was elected by a council of senior knights and served for life. Below the Grand Master were various ranks, including commanders, knights, sergeants, and chaplains. Commanders oversaw the operations of preceptories and were responsible for managing the order's properties and resources. Knights were the primary combatants, while sergeants provided logistical and support services. Chaplains attended to the spiritual needs of the order, conducting religious services and administering the sacraments. The decline and fall. Challenges in the Holy Land. The Templars' fortunes began to decline in the late 13th century, largely due to the changing political and military landscape in the Holy Land. The fall of key Crusader strongholds, such as Acre in 1291, marked the end of Christian presence in the region and undermined the Templars' primary mission. Without a clear purpose in the Holy Land, the order faced increasing scrutiny and criticism. The loss of the Holy Land also strained the Templars' financial resources, as they could no longer rely on the income generated from their properties and activities in the region. This financial strain, coupled with the loss of their military role, left the Templars vulnerable to external pressures. Internal conflicts and scandals. Internal conflicts and scandals further weakened the Templars' position. Accusations of corruption, greed, and misconduct within the order tarnished their reputation. While some of these accusations were exaggerated or unfounded, they nonetheless contributed to a growing perception that the Templars had strayed from their original ideals. One notable scandal involved the alleged misconduct of Grand Master Jacques de Molay, who faced accusations of financial mismanagement and internal dissent. Such controversies eroded the Templars' unity and undermined their authority, making them more susceptible to external attacks. The role of King Philip IV of France. The decisive blow to the Templars came from King Philip IV of France. Facing financial difficulties and seeking to consolidate his power, Philip targeted the Templars as a source of wealth and political threat. In 1307, he ordered the arrest of all Templars in France, accusing them of heresy, blasphemy, and various other crimes. Philip's motivations were primarily financial and political. He sought to seize the Templars' vast wealth and eliminate their influence as an independent power. The charges brought against the Templars were largely fabricated, but Philip's influence over Pope Clement V ensured that the accusations were taken seriously. The papal suppression. Under pressure from Philip IV, Pope Clement V initiated an investigation into the Templars' activities. The order was subjected to a series of trials, during which many Templars were tortured into making false confessions. The trials revealed little concrete evidence of wrongdoing, but the damage to the Templars' reputation was severe. In 1312, Pope Clement V issued the papal bull Vox in Excelso, formally dissolving the Knights Templar. The order's properties and assets were transferred to the Knights Hospitaller, another military order. Many Templars were imprisoned, and several, including Grand Master Jacques de Molay, were executed. The execution of Jacques de Molay. The final act in the Templars' downfall was the execution of Grand Master Jacques de Molay. After years of imprisonment and interrogation, de Molay was sentenced to death for heresy. On March 18, 1314, he was burned at the stake in Paris. According to legend, de Molay maintained his innocence and cursed King Philip IV and Pope Clement V as he faced his execution. De Molay's execution marked a dramatic and symbolic end to the Knights Templar. The Grand Master's steadfastness and final curse became part of the Templar mythology, contributing to the enduring fascination and mystique surrounding the order. Legacy and influence. The Templars in popular culture. The Knights Templar have left an enduring legacy in popular culture. Their mysterious and dramatic history has inspired countless works of fiction, from novels and films to video games and conspiracy theories. The Templars are often depicted as guardians of secret knowledge, treasure, and powerful artifacts, adding to their mystique. One of the most famous fictional portrayals of the Templars is in Dan Brown's novel, The Da Vinci Code, which explores themes of hidden history and secret societies. While such portrayals are often highly fictionalized, they reflect the enduring fascination with the Templars and their enigmatic legacy. The Templars and Freemasonry. The Templars are often linked to the origins of Freemasonry, a fraternal organization that emerged in the late 16th and early 17th centuries. Some Masonic traditions claim a direct connection to the Templars, suggesting that surviving members of the order went underground and continued their activities in secret. While there is no historical evidence to support a direct link between the Templars and Freemasonry, the association persists in popular culture and Masonic lore. The symbolic imagery and rituals of Freemasonry often draw on Templar themes, contributing to the perception of a historical connection. Historical reassessment. In recent years, historians have reassessed the Knights Templar, seeking to separate fact from fiction. This scholarship has provided a more nuanced understanding of the order's role in medieval society, emphasizing their contributions to military, economic, and religious life. The Templars are now recognized not only as warriors but also as skilled administrators, financiers, and patrons of architecture and art. Their legacy is seen as a testament to the complex interplay of faith, power, and ambition that characterized the medieval period. Architectural and artistic contributions. The Knights Templar left a lasting legacy in the form of their architectural and artistic contributions. Templar churches, castles, and preceptories, characterized by their distinctive design and construction, can still be seen across Europe and the Middle East. These structures reflect the order's military and religious identity, blending functional fortification with spiritual symbolism. Templar art, including illuminated manuscripts, frescoes, and sculptures, also testifies to the order's cultural and religious influence. The artistic legacy of the Templars continues to be studied and admired, offering insights into the medieval worldview and the intersection of faith and power. Influence on military orders. The Knights Templar set a precedent for other military orders, such as the Knights Hospitaller and the Teutonic Knights. These orders adopted similar organizational structures, combining monastic discipline with martial duties. The Templars' model of a disciplined, international military order became a template for subsequent organizations seeking to balance religious devotion with military prowess. The influence of the Templars extended to the development of chivalric codes and ideals. The order's emphasis on piety, honor, and martial skill contributed to the evolution of the knightly ethos that characterized medieval European society. Enduring mystique and popular culture. The Knights Templar have maintained an enduring mystique, captivating the imagination of generations. Their dramatic rise and fall, coupled with the mystery surrounding their alleged secrets and treasures, have made them a popular subject in literature, film, and conspiracy theories. Popular culture has often depicted the Templars as guardians of hidden knowledge and powerful artifacts, such as the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant. While these portrayals are largely fictional, they reflect the fascination with the Templars' enigmatic legacy and the desire to uncover the secrets of their past. Conclusion. The rise and fall of the Knights Templar is a compelling chapter in the history of the medieval world. From their humble beginnings as protectors of pilgrims to their transformation into a powerful military and financial organization, the Templars played a crucial role in the Crusades and the shaping of medieval society. Their dramatic downfall, orchestrated by political and financial interests, remains a poignant reminder of the volatility of power and the complex interplay of faith, ambition, and betrayal. The legacy of the Knights Templar continues to captivate scholars and the public alike. As we explore their history, we gain a deeper understanding of the medieval period and the enduring impact of the Templars on the cultural, military, and religious landscape of Europe. The Knights Templar remain an enduring symbol of the quest for faith, power, and redemption, a testament to the complexities and contradictions of human history. Thanks for listening. Like and comment. And please subscribe, as that will help us get more videos out to those interested in the Middle Ages. See you next time on Medieval Chronicles 1066. Stay curious.
Welcome to Medieval Chronicles 1066, where we delve deep into the fascinating world of the Middle Ages. Today, we explore the profound legacy of medieval monasticism and its enduring influence on society and culture. From humble beginnings, these monastic communities grew into powerful centers of faith, learning, and economic activity, shaping the very fabric of medieval life. Let's journey through the centuries to uncover the multifaceted roles monasteries played and their lasting impact on the world. Medieval monasticism began as a spiritual movement, with individuals seeking solitude and a closer connection to God. The early monks lived as hermits, dedicating their lives to prayer and contemplation. Over time, these solitary figures gathered into communities, forming the first monasteries. These monasteries soon became centers of learning, preservation of knowledge, and cultural hubs. The impact of monasticism extended far beyond their walls, influencing every aspect of medieval society. The evolution from solitary hermits to organized monastic communities marked a significant shift. Monastic rules, like those of Saint Benedict, provided structure and guidance, promoting communal living and shared responsibilities. This transformation laid the groundwork for monasteries to become influential institutions in the medieval world. Monasteries were the educational powerhouses of the medieval world. They preserved ancient texts, copied manuscripts, and educated future leaders. The monastic schools laid the foundation for the modern education system, influencing universities that emerged in the later Middle Ages. Monks were not only scribes but also teachers, passing on knowledge to novices and lay students alike. Their scriptoria, where manuscripts were meticulously copied, became the bedrock of medieval scholarship. The laborious process of copying manuscripts by hand ensured the survival of countless works of literature, philosophy, and science. Without the dedication of these monastic scribes, many classical texts might have been lost to history. The preservation and dissemination of knowledge were vital to the intellectual revival known as the Renaissance, which drew heavily on the texts safeguarded by monastic communities. The painstaking efforts of monks in preserving knowledge directly influenced the Renaissance, fueling the rebirth of art, science, and culture in Europe. The monastic dedication to learning and education laid the groundwork for the intellectual flourishing that followed. Monasteries were also economic engines. They managed vast tracts of land, engaged in agriculture, and produced goods like wine, beer, and textiles. Their economic activities provided employment and stimulated local economies, contributing to the growth of medieval towns and trade networks. Monasteries often became self-sufficient economic units, with extensive farms, mills, and workshops. The production of goods such as wine and beer became renowned, with monastic brews and vintages sought after far and wide. Monasteries were innovators in agricultural practices, introducing new crops and farming techniques that improved productivity. Their economic influence extended into trade, as monastic products were exchanged across Europe, integrating these religious communities into the broader economic landscape. The economic prosperity generated by monasteries not only supported their religious activities but also facilitated the development of surrounding communities. Their involvement in trade and commerce helped lay the foundation for the vibrant economic life of medieval Europe. Monasteries played a crucial role in social welfare. They provided food and shelter to the poor, established hospitals, and offered sanctuary to travelers. Monastic communities were centers of cultural life, hosting festivals, and preserving local traditions through their writings and art. The charitable activities of monasteries helped alleviate the harsh conditions of medieval life, offering relief and support to those in need. The establishment of hospitals by monastic orders marked the beginning of organized healthcare in the West. These early hospitals cared for the sick and the poor, embodying the Christian values of compassion and charity. Monasteries also played a role in preserving and transmitting local folklore, music, and art, ensuring that cultural traditions were maintained and celebrated. The cultural contributions of monasticism were profound. Festivals organized by monasteries brought communities together, fostering a sense of unity and shared cultural identity. Through their artistic endeavors, monks preserved and enriched the cultural heritage of their societies. The architectural and artistic contributions of monasticism are monumental. Gothic cathedrals, with their soaring spires and intricate stained glass, were often built by monastic orders. The art of manuscript illumination flourished in monasteries, leaving us with beautifully decorated texts that are treasured today. The design and construction of these magnificent buildings showcased the ingenuity and skill of monastic builders. Illuminated manuscripts, adorned with intricate designs and vibrant colors, stand as a testament to the artistic achievements of monastic scribes and artists. These works not only served religious purposes but also became masterpieces of medieval art. Monastic gardens, carefully planned and maintained, provided herbs and medicinal plants, reflecting the monks' knowledge of botany and healing. Monastic gardens were not only places of beauty but also of practical importance. They supplied the herbs used in monastic hospitals, blending beauty with utility in a harmonious balance. The legacy of monastic artistry and architecture continues to inspire and awe us today. Despite their significant contributions, monasteries faced decline during the Reformation. Many were dissolved, and their lands confiscated. In England, this process was notably spearheaded by King Henry VIII, who dissolved the monasteries in the 16th century as part of his break with the Roman Catholic Church. The dissolution of monasteries led to the redistribution of their wealth and lands, dramatically altering the social and economic landscape of Europe. King Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries was driven by both religious and financial motives. By confiscating monastic lands and wealth, he significantly increased his own power and resources. This act led to the closure of hundreds of monastic institutions, the displacement of thousands of monks and nuns, and the loss of countless cultural and educational treasures. The dissolution of the monasteries had far-reaching consequences. The loss of these centers of education, charity, and culture was felt across England. Monastic lands were sold off to nobles and gentry, altering the landscape of English society and economy. However, the monastic tradition did not vanish entirely. It transformed, adapting to new religious and social contexts, and continues to inspire modern spiritual and communal life. While the physical presence of many monasteries diminished, the ideals of monasticism persisted. New monastic communities emerged, adapting to contemporary needs and challenges. Today, monastic orders continue their work, focusing on education, social justice, and spiritual growth. Their enduring legacy is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of monastic life. The legacy of medieval monasticism is a testament to the enduring power of faith, learning, and community. From education and economy to social welfare and culture, the influence of monasticism is woven into the fabric of our society. Join us next time on Medieval Chronicles 1066 as we uncover more stories from the past that shape our present. Monasticism's impact on various aspects of medieval life demonstrates the profound ways in which these religious communities shaped the world we live in today. The story of medieval monasticism is one of transformation and perseverance. As we continue to study and appreciate their contributions, we gain a deeper understanding of the past and its influence on our present. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to Medieval Chronicles 1066. Dive deeper into the Middle Ages with our meticulously researched documentaries. Until next time, keep exploring the past to understand the present. By subscribing, you ensure you never miss an episode of our deep dives into medieval history. Your support helps us continue bringing you the stories of the past, told with detail and passion. Share your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. We love hearing from our community of history enthusiasts. Welcome to Medieval Chronicles 1066. Today, we embark on a deep dive into one of the most transformative events in English history, the dissolution of the monasteries under King Henry VIII. This sweeping reform not only altered the religious landscape but also had profound effects on England's social, economic, and cultural fabric. We will explore the immense power and influence of these monastic institutions, the motivations behind their dissolution, the intricate process of their downfall, and the far-reaching consequences of this cultural upheaval. To fully appreciate the significance of Henry VIII's actions, it's crucial to understand the role and impact of monasteries in medieval England. Monasticism in England began with the establishment of religious houses such as St. Augustine's Canterbury in 597 AD. Founded by St. Augustine, this monastery played a central role in the conversion of the Anglo-Saxons to Christianity, setting the stage for the development of a deeply religious and culturally rich society. Monasteries were far more than mere places of worship, they were centers of economic, social, and intellectual life. Following the Benedictine rule, many English monasteries emphasized manual labor and self-sufficiency. This led to the development of extensive agricultural estates and efficient land management practices. The Abbey of Glastonbury, for example, was one of the wealthiest monastic institutions in England, controlling vast land holdings and engaging in extensive commercial activities. Monasteries also played a significant role in social welfare. They operated hospitals such as St. Bartholomew's in London, providing medical care to the poor and sick. Additionally, they engaged in charitable work, offering alms, food, and shelter to those in need. These institutions were vital in maintaining community stability and supporting society's most vulnerable members. In the realm of culture, monasteries were key centers of learning. The Abbey of Westminster, founded in 960 AD, was renowned for its scholarly work, including the production of important manuscripts. Monastic schools, such as those at Durham and Canterbury, were essential in preserving classical texts and educating future priests and members of the English nobility. These institutions were integral to the intellectual and cultural continuity of the medieval period. The motivations behind Henry VIII's decision to dissolve the monasteries were complex and multifaceted, intertwining personal, political, and financial considerations. Henry VIII ascended to the throne in 1509, initially maintaining a close alliance with the Catholic Church. His early reign was marked by his staunch defense of Catholicism, earning him the titles Defender of the Faith for his opposition to Martin Luther's reformist ideas. However, his marital troubles soon led to a dramatic shift in his religious policies. By the mid-1520s, Henry's marriage to Catherine of Aragon, which had produced only one surviving child, Mary, became a major concern. Catherine, having been married to Henry's elder brother Arthur, was beyond childbearing age, and Henry sought to annul their marriage to Mary Anne Boleyn, whom he hoped would bear him a male heir. The Pope's refusal to annul the marriage, influenced by political complexities and Catherine's nephew Charles V, led Henry to break from the Roman Catholic Church. In 1534, the Act of Supremacy declared Henry as the supreme head of the Church of England, severing ties with the Pope and asserting royal control over religious matters. This break was both a personal and political maneuver, enabling Henry to secure his annulment and consolidate his religious authority. Thomas Cromwell, Henry's chief minister, played a crucial role in executing the dissolution of the monasteries. Cromwell was an astute administrator and strategist, and his approach to the dissolution was both methodical and comprehensive. In 1535, Cromwell initiated the Valor Ecclesiasticus, a survey designed to assess the wealth and condition of monastic institutions. This survey aimed to uncover corruption and mismanagement within the monasteries, providing a justification for their dissolution. While some issues were genuine, many reports exaggerated claims of moral decay to support the broader goal of dismantling the monastic system. For example, the report on the Abbey of Fountains highlighted allegations of corruption and financial mismanagement. However, the extent of these claims was often inflated to justify the closures. The survey's findings served as a pretext for the subsequent legislative actions against the monasteries. The Act of Suppression, passed in 1536, targeted monasteries with annual incomes under £200. This initial phase of the dissolution led to the closure of approximately 300 smaller monasteries, with their assets confiscated and redistributed. The Act claimed that these smaller institutions were corrupt and inefficient, though many were actually well managed and integral to their communities. Cromwell dispatched commissioners to assess the wealth and condition of these institutions. Their reports, known as the Valor Ecclesiasticus, provided a detailed inventory of monastic assets and alleged widespread corruption. These reports justified the closures and the seizure of monastic properties. The dissolution of the monasteries was not merely an economic and political maneuver, it was a profound cultural revolution. It marked a decisive shift from Catholicism to Protestantism, dismantling centuries-old traditions and practices. This transformation was part of a broader Reformation movement sweeping across Europe. In England, the Reformation was characterized by several key changes. 1. Promotion of English in church services. The introduction of English in place of Latin in church services made religious practices more accessible to the lay population and reduced the power of traditional ecclesiastical authorities. 2. Distribution of the English Bible. The distribution of the English Bible allowed people to engage with religious texts directly, diminishing the role of the clergy as intermediaries between God and the people. 3. Reduction of saint veneration. The reduction in the veneration of saints and relics reflected a move towards a more individualistic and scripture-centered form of Christianity. The dissolution reinforced the authority of the crown over religious matters, diminishing the power of the clergy and the Pope. This shift was part of a broader effort to centralize power and modernize governance in England. The redistribution of monastic wealth had significant economic and social implications. The lands seized from the monasteries were sold or granted to loyal nobles, creating a new class of landowners. This redistribution fostered the growth of a powerful and wealthy gentry class, which played a crucial role in the political and social development of the Tudor and Stuart periods. The shift from monastic to secular landownership transformed the agricultural economy. Former monastic lands were converted into profitable agricultural estates, contributing to the growth of England's economy. The rise of a commercially oriented society facilitated England's emergence as a major European power. The rise of the gentry class had lasting social implications. This new class of landowners became integral to the power structures of early modern England, influencing political, economic, and social developments. The gentry played a crucial role in shaping the Tudor and Stuart periods, contributing to the evolution of England's political landscape. The dissolution also had a profound impact on English culture. The funds acquired from the dissolution were used to establish new educational institutions, such as Christ Church, Oxford, and Emmanuel College, Cambridge. These institutions became centres of learning and intellectual growth, contributing to the flourishing of the English Renaissance. The patronage of the arts and sciences during this period laid the groundwork for the emergence of prominent figures such as William Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe. The intellectual and artistic developments of the Renaissance were fueled by the resources and opportunities created by the dissolution of the monasteries. Today, the remnants of the monasteries stand as poignant symbols of this transformative period. The ruins scattered across the English landscape serve as reminders of the profound changes wrought by Henry VIII's quest for power and control. The legacy of the dissolution of the monasteries is complex and far-reaching. It not only altered the religious and economic fabric of England, but also set a precedent for the relationship between the state and the church. The redistribution of wealth and land reshaped the social hierarchy, laying the foundations for modern England. In the immediate aftermath, the dissolution provided Henry with the financial resources to pursue his ambitions both domestically and abroad. However, it also sowed the seeds of social and religious unrest, contributing to uprisings such as the Pilgrimage of Grace in 1536. In the longer term, the dissolution had profound effects on English society, transforming the agricultural economy, reshaping land ownership, and contributing to the development of a more commercially oriented and secular society. Thank you for joining us on this extensive journey through one of the most transformative periods in English history. We hope this detailed analysis of King Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries has provided you with a deeper understanding of its far-reaching consequences. If you found this episode insightful, please follow Medieval Chronicles 1066 for more engaging and comprehensive tales from the past. Until next time, farewell. Special thanks to our sources and contributors for their invaluable insights and research. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we will continue to uncover more secrets of the Middle Ages. Don't miss it! Have you ever heard about the shocking truth behind these trials? Well, buckle up, because Scotland had one of the highest rates of witch trials in Europe, and today we're going to reveal some jaw-dropping facts that will leave you speechless. From the dark societal fears and superstitions to the individual stories of those persecuted, we'll uncover the profound impact these trials had on Scottish society. So, let's dive in and understand the context, the cases, and the chilling truths behind the Scottish witch trials. The historical context. To truly grasp the gravity of the Scottish witch trials, we must first understand the historical context of the time. The trials primarily took place between the 16th and 18th centuries, a period marked by significant social, political, and religious changes. In the late 16th century, Scotland was undergoing the Protestant Reformation, a movement that significantly altered the religious landscape. The Reformation, which sought to rid the Church of practices deemed corrupt and heretical, also heightened fears of the devil's influence. Witchcraft, seen as a direct manifestation of the devil's power, became a prime target. The Scottish Witchcraft Act of 1563 was pivotal. This legislation, enacted during the reign of Mary, Queen of Scots, made witchcraft a capital offence. The act stated, "Any persones accused of witchcraft or sorcery shall suffer death." This law set the stage for over a century and a half of witch hunts and executions, fostering a climate where accusations could lead to death. King James VI, later James I of England, played a crucial role in fueling the witch hunt hysteria. His fascination with witchcraft was partly due to his personal experiences. In 1590, after a stormy voyage from Denmark, he believed witches had conjured storms to thwart his journey. This belief was solidified during the North Berwick witch trials, where several accused witches confessed, under severe torture, to raising storms against the king. James's obsession culminated in his book The Demonology, published in 1597. This treatise on witchcraft, necromancy, and the supernatural not only provided a theological justification for witch hunts but also detailed methods for identifying and prosecuting witches. His endorsement lent significant credibility to the persecution of witches and influenced witch hunts across Scotland and England. The social context was equally critical. The late 16th and early 17th centuries were times of political instability and economic hardship in Scotland. Famine, disease, and poverty were rampant, creating a fertile ground for fear and suspicion. People were looking for scapegoats to explain their suffering, and accusations of witchcraft provided a convenient outlet. Additionally, it's important to note the influence of continental Europe on Scottish witch hunts. Scotland was part of a broader European trend of witch persecution. The infamous Malleus Maleficarum, or Hammer of Witches, published in 1487 by Heinrich Kramer and Jacob Sprenger, laid out a detailed guide for identifying, prosecuting, and executing witches. This book influenced witch hunts across Europe, including Scotland, and its impact can be seen in the legal and procedural aspects of the Scottish trials. Societal fears and superstitions. As we peel back the layers of history, we come face to face with the societal fears and superstitions that fueled the witch trials in Scotland. These irrational beliefs led to a frenzy of accusations and executions, creating a climate of fear and paranoia that gripped the nation. The fear of witchcraft was deeply rooted in the collective psyche of the time. Many believed that witches were in league with the devil, capable of casting curses, causing harm, and even manipulating the weather. These beliefs were often stoked by religious leaders who saw witchcraft as a direct threat to their authority and the social order. A key aspect of these fears was the belief in a maleficium, or harmful magic. Any unexplained misfortune, from failed crops to sudden illnesses, could be attributed to maleficium. This belief was compounded by the pervasive fear of the devil's influence, a theme heavily emphasized in sermons and religious teachings. In rural communities, where life was harsh and survival often depended on favorable weather and good health, the stakes were high. A bad harvest or an outbreak of disease could mean starvation or death. In such an environment, finding a scapegoat for misfortune became a way to exert some form of control over uncontrollable forces. Women, particularly those who were marginalized or lived on the fringes of society, often became easy targets. Religious leaders played a significant role in perpetuating these fears. The clergy, seen as moral and spiritual authorities, often preached about the dangers of witchcraft, linking it to the devil and eternal damnation. This preaching created a moral panic, where even the slightest suspicion could lead to accusations. The role of the witch prickers also highlights the extent of societal fear. Witch prickers were individuals who claimed to have the ability to identify witches by pricking their bodies with needles. If the accused did not bleed or feel pain, they were deemed to be witches. This practice, often motivated by financial gain, led to countless false accusations and executions. One such witch pricker was John Kincaid, whose services were in high demand during the height of the witch hunts. Kincaid traveled from town to town, conducting his grim work and profiting from the fear and paranoia that swept through communities. His methods were brutal and unscientific, yet they held considerable sway over local magistrates and the general populace. Another significant societal factor was the legal system itself. The Scottish courts operated under a legal framework that allowed for the use of torture to extract confessions. The Privy Council and local magistrates often sanctioned the use of brutal methods to force accused witches to confess to their alleged crimes. Once a confession was obtained, it was almost impossible for the accused to recant or receive a fair trial. The system was heavily weighted against the accused, perpetuating a cycle of fear and injustice. The economic motivation behind some witch hunts cannot be ignored. Local magistrates and officials often profited from the trials. The property of convicted witches was confiscated, providing financial incentives for prosecutions. Additionally, the costs of the trials, including the fees for witch prickers and the expenses of imprisonment, were often charged to the accused's family or community, creating a financial burden that fueled further accusations. Notable cases of Scottish witch trials. But it doesn't stop there. To shed light on the unjust trials and brutal punishments that were meted out to innocent individuals, we need to explore specific cases of Scottish witch trials. The stories of those who suffered during this dark period are a stark reminder of the injustices that can arise when fear and ignorance prevail. One of the most infamous cases was the North Berwick witch trials in 1590–91. This series of trials began when King James VI returned from Denmark and was caught in a severe storm. Believing the storm to be the result of witchcraft, he ordered an investigation. Agnes Sampson, a healer and midwife, was among those accused. Under torture, she confessed to summoning storms and communicating with the devil. Her trial was a spectacle, with her confession used to validate the witch hunt. She was eventually strangled and burned at the stake. Another notable case was the Great Scottish Witch Hunt of 1661–62, one of the largest witch hunts in Scotland's history. During this period, hundreds of people were accused of witchcraft across the country. The trials were characterized by intense paranoia and the use of brutal interrogation methods. Isabel Gowdie, from Aldern, is one of the most famous witches from this period. Her detailed confession included vivid descriptions of meetings with the devil, shape-shifting, and other supernatural activities. Historians believe her confessions were likely the result of coercion and torture. The case of Margaret Aitken, known as the Great Witch of Bulwery, is another tragic example. Arrested in 1597, Aitken confessed to witchcraft and, in an attempt to save her own life, agreed to identify other witches. She travelled around Scotland pointing out supposed witches, leading to numerous executions. Eventually, her credibility was questioned, and she was executed. Her case exemplifies how desperation and fear could lead to the perpetuation of witch hunts. One lesser-known but equally tragic case was that of Jonnet Wishart, accused in 1597. Her trial records provide a chilling account of the accusations and the process. Jonnet was accused of causing illness and death through witchcraft, based on testimonies from her neighbors. Despite her denials, she was found guilty and executed. Her case highlights the role of community suspicion and personal vendettas in the witch hunts. The trials in the town of Forres in 1662 provide another grim example. Janet McNichol and Isabel Gowdy were among those accused. Gowdy's confessions were incredibly detailed, describing how she and other witches transformed into animals and attended witches' sabbaths. Her vivid testimony, believed to be the result of severe torture, fueled the frenzy of accusations. The Forres trials led to numerous executions and are remembered as one of the most brutal episodes in Scottish witch hunting history. A particularly haunting case is that of Bessie Dunlop, who was tried in 1576. Bessie was known as a healer and a wise woman in her community. She claimed to receive her knowledge from a spirit named Thomas Reed, who had died at the Battle of Pinkie Cleugh. Despite her attempts to use her abilities for good, she was accused of witchcraft. Her trial records show how her supposed communication with spirits was interpreted as evidence of witchcraft. Bessie was convicted and executed, her case illustrating the fine line between accepted folk practices and condemned witchcraft. The case of Lilias Adey, from Torreburn, Fife, is particularly striking. In 1704, Lilias was accused of witchcraft and, under torture, confessed to being in league with the devil. Unlike many others, she died in prison before she could be executed. What makes her case unique is the fact that her body was buried in a tidal mudflat, covered with a large stone slab to prevent her spirit from rising and seeking revenge. Lilias Adey's grave is the only known witch's grave in Scotland, and it stands as a chilling testament to the fear and superstition that permeated society at the time. Moreover, the political context played a crucial role. The late 17th century was a time of political turbulence in Scotland, with conflicts such as the Wars of the Three Kingdoms and the Glorious Revolution creating a climate of uncertainty and fear. Political factions often used witchcraft accusations as a tool to discredit and eliminate their enemies. The witch hunts provided a convenient means to settle scores and consolidate power. A significant lesser-known fact is the role of children in the witch hunts. In several cases, children were used as witnesses or even accusers in witch trials. Their testimonies, often coerced or influenced by adults, were given considerable weight. The case of the Aldern trials in 1662 saw young children accusing adults of witchcraft, leading to numerous convictions and executions. The involvement of children highlights the pervasive fear and manipulation that characterized the witch hunts. The psychological and social impact. The psychological impact on those accused of witchcraft was profound. Many accused witches were subjected to sleep deprivation, physical torture, and psychological torment to extract confessions. The infamous witch's bridle, a metal device that prevented the accused from speaking, was used to silence and humiliate them. These methods not only led to false confessions but also caused immense suffering and trauma. One of the most feared methods of interrogation was swimming the witch. The accused were bound and thrown into water. If they floated, they were deemed guilty because water, the pure element, rejected them. If they sank, and often drowned, they were considered innocent. This barbaric practice highlights the irrational and cruel methods used to determine guilt. The witch hunts also had a devastating social impact. Families were torn apart, and communities were left in a state of perpetual fear and distrust. The social fabric of many towns and villages was irreparably damaged as neighbors turned against each other. The fear of being accused led to an atmosphere of paranoia, where any unusual behavior or misfortune could be interpreted as evidence of witchcraft. Women, in particular, were disproportionately targeted. Estimates suggest that around 80% of those accused were female. The stereotypical image of a witch as an old, poor, and solitary woman made women more vulnerable to accusations. This gender bias was rooted in contemporary beliefs about women's supposed moral and spiritual weakness, making them more susceptible to the devil's influence. The trials reinforced existing gender inequalities and subjected countless women to unimaginable suffering. The economic impact of the witch hunts was also significant. As mentioned earlier, the property of convicted witches was often confiscated, leading to financial gain for local authorities and officials. However, the cost of the trials themselves, including the expenses of imprisonment and execution, often fell on the community. This economic burden exacerbated existing social tensions and fueled further accusations, creating a vicious cycle of fear and persecution. The human cost and reflection. In conclusion, it's crucial to reflect on the human cost of the Scottish witch trials and the lessons we can glean from the mistakes of the past. The witch trials resulted in the execution of an estimated 3,000 to 4,000 people in Scotland, a staggering number considering the population of the time. These individuals, mostly women, were often the most vulnerable members of society: widows, healers, midwives, and those who simply did not conform to societal norms. The trials serve as a stark reminder of the dangers of mass hysteria, scapegoating, and the abuse of power. The fear and ignorance that fueled the witch hunts led to countless injustices and untold suffering. Innocent people were tortured, executed, and had their lives and reputations destroyed based on little more than superstition and suspicion. By understanding and acknowledging these dark moments in history, we can strive to create a more just and compassionate society today. We must remain vigilant against the forces of ignorance and fear that can lead to such tragic outcomes. Education and critical thinking are essential tools in combating the kind of mass hysteria that led to the witch trials. It's our responsibility to ensure that such injustices are never repeated. The Scottish witch trials also highlight the importance of legal protections and the need for due process. The lack of fair trials and the use of torture to extract confessions were significant factors in the wrongful convictions and executions. Modern legal systems must uphold the principles of justice and human rights to prevent similar injustices. Furthermore, the witch trials remind us of the dangers of othering and scapegoating marginalized groups. Throughout history, societies have often targeted those who are different or do not conform to the norm, whether due to their gender, race, religion, or social status. The witch hunts are a stark example of how fear and prejudice can lead to the persecution of the innocent. In reflecting on this dark chapter, it's also important to honor the memory of the victims. In recent years, there have been efforts in Scotland to acknowledge the injustices of the past. Memorials and historical markers have been erected to commemorate those who were accused and executed for witchcraft. These efforts serve as a reminder of the importance of historical memory and the need to confront and learn from our past. As we conclude our exploration of the Scottish witch trials, let us remember the human cost and strive to build a society where justice, compassion, and understanding prevail. By learning from history, we can work towards a future where fear and ignorance no longer lead to such tragic outcomes. Before we wrap up, I want to encourage you to engage with this topic further. If you found this information intriguing, Make sure to like the video, subscribe for more captivating historical content, and don't forget to share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Your voice matters, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the shocking truth behind the Scottish witch trials. Until next time, this is Medieval Chronicles 1066, signing off.